Hello everyone, it's Jodi, and I am here today to show you 7 different marker techniques in these 2 very simple quick and creative cards. So this card here has 3 different techniques. This one has 4. So let me walk you through each of those cards and point out the different techniques. I'm going to be using a stamp set called Spring Corners. It's a really fun stamp set, really unique design in the way it goes around a corner. There's a few greetings that are just straight as well, and then some different images. So I've been having lots of fun with that stamp set. I'm going to start with this small piece of basic white, and I'm going to pull in the balloons image and the happy birthday. So I will just simply ink this on my black cardstock, stamp in the center, a little bit higher than center, and then I'll come back with my happy birthday right along the bottom. Now I'm going to clean this because I'm going to show you the very first technique, and that is coloring with a marker on the stamp. So I'm going to pull in my Petunia Pop marker. If you're not familiar with our markers, they are dual tipped, meaning there's a tip on each end. There's a bullet end down here that's designated by that thinner line. So this kind of makes that thickness of a line. And then the brush end down here is a thicker line, and that looks like that. So every single one of our Stampin' Write markers has that feature, the 2 different sized ends. Now, let me show you. If I notice I'm using like the side of the brush end, and if I was to just put color on there and go ahead and stamp, it's going to be a pretty light image. And you'll see as I pull this card together, let me pull it back in, I just felt like it looked better with a black image there. But then I had the idea, well, what about if I color on the stamp and then stamp right next to that black to kind of give it like a shadow. So I need to look straight down and give it just a little bit of a nudge so that it's a shadow. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it through the video, but the black has this little bit of a purple Petunia Pop shadow to it. So that is my first technique for you, is to apply the marker directly to the stamp and then stamp your image down. So that is technique number 1. Technique number 2, I'm going to use the same marker, and I'm just simply going to color in the stamped image. So that's a super simple, basic marker technique, is just coloring in. I prefer to use the brush end. It just goes faster, and I'm not always incredibly patient when I'm crafting. So I like to color with the brush end. It works just fine for me. Some people prefer the bullet end, and that's fine. It might just take a little bit longer, but either way, you can use the brush end or the bullet end. If it's a really small area, I would definitely use the bullet end. And if it's a bigger area, I would without a doubt use the brush end. Now I'm going to attach this to the piece of basic black that's just a little bit larger. And then for this card, you may have noticed I do have a basic black card base, so I would want to be sure to add a layer of basic white to the inside so I could stamp a greeting or write my message. But then I have this white layer that goes in between here. Now look at this comparison. Isn't it just so different? And this is simply markers, just adding accent lines with the brush end of the markers. So I'm going to start with Petunia Pop, and I'm just going to kind of use the edge. And this technique, you're going to get a different look each and every time. I could not make this the same twice, even if I really wanted to. This looks kind of random, doesn't it? Can you see how it's going to become this? All right, let's take the next color. I'm going to take my Pretty in Pink, and this one will simply go after each of the petunia pops. Now notice I'm not trying to line up these ends exactly. I want it to be more varied, and so I'm just doing random lengths. And you'll notice too, there's some white space in there, and that is perfectly okay. Coming in last with Peach Pie. All of these colors, these three, are part of our in colors with Stampin' Up. So these are the most current, the newest in colors. And I just that easily created this really fun border. So this plain white super easily transforms into that awesome border. So you've got your drop shadow petunia pop behind the black letters. That's technique number 1. Technique 2 is just coloring in a stamped image. Technique 3 is adding accent lines. Now, pretend I attached that all together because I want to move on to card number 2. The next card, let me pull in my supplies. I am going to start. This one has a thick basic white card base. So if the card base is white, I would highly recommend it being a thick cardstock because you want that extra support. And then I'm going to pull in just this piece here of basic white, and I'm going to stamp one of those corner images this time. This one says always in your corner. So I will ink this up. And then stamp that right up here in the corner of this basic white. So always in your corner. And then I'll just set that on my scrub pad. I'll scrub that up later. Okay, so here is technique number 4 of 7. I'm going to take the brush end of Petunia Pop one more time. And this time I'm going to draw in a frame. So this is a little bit difficult for me because I'm very much a perfectionist type personality. And this is just a free form. I'm pretending that it doesn't matter if it's perfectly straight or even, which is not necessarily easy for my brain. But it's fun. I kind of like it. It's easy to just draw in a frame. So we had that plain white cardstock, added the corner greeting. I took Petunia Pop, drew in that frame. Now I'm going to take Pretty in Pink, and I'm just going to do another layer, same thing, just on the inside. And again, you'll have a little bit of white space in spots. That's okay. I prefer that instead of overlapping too much. But whatever works. The beauty of this is that it doesn't have to be perfect, as hard as that is for some of our brains to grasp. So I've just created that double border. I'm going to take it one more time and go right down the middle and then across here and kind of make a little window. Okay. Now I'm going to go back, Petunia Pop again, this time with the bullet end, and I'm going to do what I hope are straight lines. So I'm going to do a straight-ish line on the vertical and horizontal here. And then I'm going to intentionally make this just a little bit wavy along the outside. So I suppose you could consider this 2 different techniques. I'm just calling it one. So the border, the little frame I'm creating, and the detailed lines on the inside, that's just one technique in my book. Okay, let's stamp the little heart image from Spring Corners. And these are just going randomly. It doesn't matter exactly where they are. I just want one in each of these little panes of the window. So I've got my 4 hearts. Now, what I want to do, you could just color in the hearts like I did with the balloons. Just color them in with that brush end or the bullet end. What I want to do though is show you a new technique. And this is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is technique number 5. This is called pointillism. Have you heard of that before? Pointillism is just a really, really easy little dots. So I'm just repeating these little dots close together. My marker is straight up and down. I'm just tap, tap, tapping little dots in this space. There's definitely some white space in there, and that is just fine. But you can see for sure which of those 4 got colored in, even though it's just dots and white space. So that is technique number 5. Let's go on to technique number 6. I want to add this to a piece of basic black and then to the card base. But before I do that, I want to show you something with the brush end, again, of Petunia Pop. And I'm going to take the cap and make a little splatter of ink. So I'm just going to kind of flick the ink off of the tip of the marker using the cap. Now there's variables here. The more I go in one area, obviously the denser it will be. If I want to do it from up high versus closer, all of those things play into it. By the way, that just reminded me, when you're using your markers, you want to hear that snap. Then you know that the lid is on tight. Okay, do you see the splatter? I'm hoping that it shows through well in the video. I'm honestly not sure if it is, but there's quite a bit of splatter all around the edges. And you want it to be, you know, more of a subtle look. It's not something that is a focal point by any means. So I'm going to add adhesive to this and place it on my layer of basic black. And then before I add this to the thick white card base, let me get this closed. I want to add some twine, and we have some white baker's twine. So I could wrap that around and then attach it to the card, but I thought, hey, let's have a 7th marker technique. So here we go. I'm taking the brush end, you guessed it, Petunia Pop, and I'm just going to set it over the twine and pull the twine. As I do that, it's moving, it's kind of twisting as I go. Let me grab it down here again. And it's just kind of randomly in different spots, adding Petunia Pop, where'd my cap go? Here it is, to the twine. So now I've got this striped baker's twine. Now I could be really diligent and go over and make it a solid color, but I really like the look of this. In fact, I'm gonna go back and add some pretty in pink, do that same technique. It might overlap in some spots, and then in other areas, it'll be its own color, and then there's still a decent amount of white space. So now we've got this two-toned piece of baker's twine. All right, now let's take this and wrap it around our layer here. Let's see. Tying bows in videos is not one of my favorite things, but hopefully we can make it work. Let's see. Get that piece through. That's pretty good. Pretty darn good. Okay, so I'm gonna tuck that underneath and we'll pull that tight. And then, of course, I just layer that onto the card. I could trim my ends a little bit, but let me pull in the 2 finished cards for you one more time and review all of these awesome techniques. So we've got coloring directly on the stamp and stamping it down. In this case, that little drop shadow like I did there that gives that little bit of purple behind the black letters. Number 2 is coloring in images. Number 3 is accent lines. Number 4 is drawing in a frame with thick or fine lines. Number 5 is pointillism, just those little dots to color in an image. Number 6 is that ink splatter in the background. And finally, number 7 is coloring your twine. These were super fun for me. I just so much enjoyed playing with our Stampin' Write markers. I hope you learned something. Please comment. Let me know what you learned, what you liked, what you're excited to try. Now, I do want to tell you one more thing. If you are watching this video in February 2025, I want you to know about a special offer from Stampin' Up! With our color families of Stampin' Right markers. So this is our Brights collection, our Subtles collection, our Regals collection, and finally, our Neutrals collection. When you purchase the Stampin' Up! Starter Kit during February 2025, you get to choose 2 of these collections, 20 markers for free with that starter kit. Our starter kit is always a great value. You get to choose up to $125 worth of product for just $99 plus tax. Shipping is always free, but this month during our annual celebration promotion, not only do you get all of that, but you get to choose 2 color families, 2 color collections of Stampin' Right markers, and you get an exclusive stamp set that lends itself really well to coloring with markers. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please reach out to me. I would love to tell you more. Regardless of when you watch the video, I hope you enjoy these techniques and that you have fun giving them a try. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.